Welcome to Standing on Business with Eric Foss. I'm your host, Eric Foss. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to Standing on Business with Eric Foss. I'm your host, Eric Foss. Tonight, I got a good one for you guys. We're going to go into the Philly genre here, the mob genre, if you want to call it or whatever. We're going to do something on Frank Martinez. He was the underboss of John Stanfa during, the 90s with the whole Philly war thing and all. It gets into that. And I was locked up with Frank, so I'll get into a little bit about Frank when we were locked up together and stuff. But anyway, I do remember what we're going to go into today is Frank's last compassionate release, which is from April 2024. This is what I pulled up. Now, he had done a couple of them when I was with him, I think in 2020, 2021, something like that. I remember there was a lawyer coming up and seeing him, and then he fired a lawyer. So he really is working hard and has lawyers really working to get him out. He's always doing that. So now, with that being said, let's get into this. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to read their memorandum really quick, okay? So this is the government. Young father Frank Martinez Jr. left a career to join La Cosa Nostra and later direct the unalivings of others in a large criminal enterprise where he eventually rose to become the underboss to John Stanfa. Our grand jury charged him with directing and participating in several unalivings. The jury later found him guilty of taking the lives of many persons. These guys in Philly were getting down. Wait till we get into this. That's why you want to hang around. Judge Buckwalter imposed a life sentence based on the offense level as affirmed by our Court of Appeals in the late 1990s. And what that means right there, guys, is when he got convicted, he did his direct appeals and all that kind of stuff. He exhausted that in the Court of Appeals. His convictions were affirmed. Okay, so he was shot down. Now, here's where it gets into when him and I were locked up together. He decided to first seek early release from his life sentence in early 2021. He earlier cited his deteriorating medical condition during COVID-19, given his advancing age. They denied those arguments. Now he asked for compassionate release for a third time in the past 40 months. We may expect a person with a considered life sentence to face tougher medical conditions as they age. And what they're saying there is like, we gave you life. Of course, you're going to get sick when you get older. The Bureau of Prisons can and has treated his medical condition. The United States does not dispute his worsened medical condition today. Okay, so they're not disputing that his health has deteriorated. We continue to commend him for his work in the facility and appreciate the kind words offered in support of his release. So what that means right there, I do remember Frank worked sanitation job or whatever. He worked on the compound or whatever. So he was pretty much a model inmate. I think he had a couple tickets that we'll get into down here, but pretty much he was a model inmate. Here's the problem, though. Now, also, he had people offer kind words in support of his release. What I'm figuring is that's like people from the community and stuff like that, because he did have, I think, like a construction company, things like that. So, yeah, here's the problem, though. We can only release today if we could find he does not present a danger to the community, which includes a safe plan for return to the community. And we cannot do so today. Mr. Martinez continues to dispute the merits of the jury's findings of his murderous conduct. He offers little remorse. They hate that. We will want to ensure the families of the deceased know of his requested release. Now, they do try to do that. Now, did they do that with Sammy and the Alan Kaiser thing and all? See, right here, the feds are actually following what the rules are supposed to be. Getting in touch with victims' families and things like that. Like, hey, this person's trying to get released. This is actually them following the rules of what they're supposed to be. Okay? So now, we find no more reason to believe he can be safely released to our community than he offered the last two times. So in other words, he's come up with nothing different. And it may be worse as he plans to live with his son, who is also a federal and state felon and now charged with violent domestic crimes in Philadelphia, facing trial later this month. Now, this was back in April. We don't know what happened in his son's trial. And I'm not going to get into his son. I mean, it could be DUI. He could have got an argument. Who knows? But they will use that to say, hey, what kind of environment are you going back into? But mine got shot down. I was going into a great environment. So that doesn't, they just do that. But they're going to use any reason. So let's just be fair here. There is definite place for release in our justice, but a considered life sentence means persons may become ill while incarcerated. We hope our incarcerated persons productively work towards rehabilitation, but we would expect some remorse and a plan to safely enter the community if release is otherwise warranted. We find no basis to alter a well-considered life sentence for the underboss of a murderous organized crime enterprise found by a jury to have taken lives of many others. Okay, now let's go down to his role as underboss. Okay, Philadelphia's La Cosa Nostra enterprise acted at the direction of a boss. The enterprise's boss acted through an underboss. The enterprise's boss and underboss gave order to capital regimes and soldiers. The enterprise's soldiers carried out the boss's and underboss's orders while also directing associates to complete work for the soldiers. So you see how it just went right down there, and it just laid the mob out basically for you. The enterprise's members murdered, attempted to murder, and conspired to murder other members and associates who violated the enterprise's rules. The enterprise used murder and intimidation against those who questioned its authority, threatened the enterprise's leaders, jeopardized the enterprise's operations, or hampered the enterprise's cash flow. Anthony Piccolo acted as the enterprise's boss until John Stanford succeeded him in 1991. Joseph Cigalini Jr. served as the enterprise underboss until March 2nd, 1993. Mr. Martinez succeeded Mr. Cigalini Jr. as acting underboss after March 2nd, 1993. Mr. Stanford confirmed Mr. Martinez served as the enterprise's acting underboss. A capo also confirmed that he and Mr. Martinez are in charge of the enterprise if Mr. Stanford goes to jail. So what I'm seeing here is maybe a lot of things were picked up on wiretaps and bugs and things like that. So, you know, like kind of like back with the Gotti case, if I go to the can for 100 years, Sammy, what are you going to be? You know, something to that effect is happening here in Philadelphia. Now, here's where it gets interesting, guys. Mr. Martinez recruited and directed others to recruit enterprise associates to unalive rival gang members. Mr. Martinez assigned associates tasks in the unaliving plot like acquiring guns, bombs, and cyanide. Wow. Mr. Martinez and other enterprise associates used a garage in Philadelphia to house the instruments of the murder conspiracy. Mr. Martinez assured one member of the unaliving conspiracy he could trust another soldier because Mr. Martinez knew the soldier had taken someone's life before. Mr. Martinez orchestrates a rival gang leader's murder. Mr. Martinez introduced one enterprise associate to Mr. Stanford, explaining the associate's role and assignment to a hit crew. Mr. Stanford approved the hit crew and their objective to kill a rival gang leader. Now, I'm assuming this is Cugene. The hit crew carried firearms, a high-powered rifle with a scope, and homemade bombs, and they intended to place under the rival gang leader's car. Wow. So look, guys, I just want to get into this real quick, and I want to stop right here because it gets more. I want to point something out about these guys in Philly. They were getting down. And one thing is, like, you'll hear about these wars in other places and stuff. When you're going to war in Philly, Philly's small. Philly's like Baltimore. It's really very small. Man, pretty tough right here. The hit crew planned to shoot the rival gang leader with the high-power rifle from the roadside of I-95, but failed. The hit crew stalked the rival gang leader the following evening to a funeral home, but abandoned the attempt because there were too many witnesses near the funeral home. The hit crew injured the rival gang leader and unalived the rival gang's second in command several days later in a drive-by shooting. Okay. So what they're talking about is that story, and, you know, like I said, to any of the victims' families or friends or anything like that, you know, may they rest in peace. And, you know, my condolences with all of them. And, you know, we're just reading off records here. But everybody knows what this situation right here is. This was with Cugene, Joey, whatever. And this is when They basically pulled a drive-by on Joey, and he got injured, and his friend unfortunately passed away. That right there in itself, guys, is what I'm talking about. That is a traumatic experience. That had to be a traumatic experience for Joey. You know what I mean? And so, like I said, this is very serious what's going on here. Okay. A hit crew member injured his hand while burning the car used in the unaliving. Mr. Martinez paid the injured hit crew member $300, instructed the injured member to lay low, and relayed Mr. Stanfa's appreciation to the hit crew member for the second in command's unaliving. Wow. The injured hit crew member visited the hospital after the Enterprise failed to send him to a doctor. Mr. Martinez, so basically the guy who got hurt when he was burning the car or whatever, now he's not supposed to go to a regular hospital. You know, they got like doctors set up to treat you and stuff. Well, this guy went to a regular doctor, well, a hospital. Mr. Martinez relayed Mr. Stanfa's unhappiness to the injured crew hit member for visiting the hospital. The hit crew members poured acid on the firearms and disposed of them in a body of water. Mr. Martinez orchestrates a second unaliving. Several Enterprise associates met Mr. Martinez at an associate's house. Mr. Martinez brought the component parts for a homemade pipe bomb and left with an associate to deliver the parts to the Enterprise's bomb maker. Mr. Martinez later returned to the associate's house with 6 firearms. Mr. Martinez ate dinner with the Enterprise associates and then drove them home. Mr. Martinez and the Enterprise associates noted a member of the rival gang member's car parked at a diner. The Enterprise associates circled the diner several times to confirm the rival gang member's presence in the diner. Mr. Martinez instructed the passengers to unalive the rival gang member. Mr. Martinez drove the Enterprise associates to pick up firearms. Mr. Martinez determined he and another associate would act as the shooters. One Enterprise associate offered to shoot the rival gang member in Mr. Martinez's stead to prove himself to Mr. Martinez. That's another thing that debunks some stuff that you will hear. Now remember, in organized crime and stuff like that, you'll hear like the Iceman and stuff, oh, the mob paid me to do this, paid you to do that. That's not true. It's just like in the joint when people put work. You got people with their hand raised that want to be accepted to do this stuff. They don't do that. I mean, there could be situations, but no. Like the Iceman, all that, that's all lies. The 2 Enterprise associates shot and unalived the rival gang member. Mr. Martinez drove off with the Enterprise associates. So they pulled it off. Now, he orchestrates a failed unaliving attempt. Martinez and Stanfa directed 5 Enterprise associates to form a hit crew and kill a rival gang member. Messrs. Martinez and Stanfa sent the hit crew in 2 cars armed with firearms to find the rival gang member. The hit crew abandoned the attempt after seeing police in the area. Now, he orchestrates, it says Mr. Martinez orchestrates a second failed unaliving. Messrs. Martinez and Stanfa directed 4 Enterprise associates to form a hit crew and unalive a rival gang member. Messrs. Martinez and Stanfa directed the hit crew to carry firearms and shoot the rival gang member as the rival gang member left his house in the morning. The hit crew stole and hid inside of a van until the rival gang member left his home. The hit crew abandoned the attempt because there were many pedestrians nearby when the rival gang member left his home. The hit crew tried again the next day, but abandoned the attempt after 2 crew members did not arrive. So like I said, these guys, this was war. This was war. You see, failed attempt, try again. Failed attempt, try again. Successful, keep going. And this is back and forth. This is some serious stuff. So what I want to do is I want to go back to a couple of my videos ago when I was talking about how Dom Scali and some of these guys come out here and they want to act like when they're like, oh yeah, Joey was at a restaurant and seen somebody, he's puffing cigarettes, he was scared. Let me tell you something. This is scary. This is scary. What we're reading right now in this stuff, that's scary stuff. So no, there's no way possible that man would ever be scared. Trust me on that one. That's a tough guy. Okay. Mr. Martinez assembled 7 Enterprise associates to form a hit crew and unalive a rival gang member. Mr. Martinez helped the hit crew plan the unaliving. Mr. Martinez directed the hit crew to wait outside a bar the gang guy frequented. The hit crew abandoned the attempt because the rival gang member failed to arrive at the bar. So they were laying on people. He orchestrates a 4th failed attempt. Mr. Martinez assembled 5 Enterprise associates to form a hit crew and unalive a rival gang member. The hit crew met at a diner to discuss the unaliving the rival gang member in a drive-by shooting. The hit crew took up positions outside the rival gang member's home. One hit crew member saw and followed the gang member's car, but lost the rival gang member in traffic. The hit crew abandoned the attempt after losing the gang member's car in traffic. Now, it says he conspires to unalive two rival gang members. Messrs. Martinez and Stanfa conspired to unalive 2 Enterprise associates, believing the associates cheated the Enterprise out of money. Mr. Stanfa arranged to meet the 2 Enterprise associates at a restaurant in Jersey. Mr. Stanfa did not intend to attend the meeting and instead set up the meeting as a trap for Mr. Martinez and others to unalive the 2 Enterprise associates. That sounds a lot like the story again when they tried to, get Kujin and his buddy and they didn't show up. That's what this sounds like. Mr. Martinez and 2 other Enterprise associates met outside the New Jersey restaurant. Mr. Martinez provided an Enterprise associate a firearm equipped with a silencer. Mr. Martinez and the 2 other Enterprise associates stalked the 2 Enterprise associates. The conspirators abandoned the attempt. So it may have been that, may not have. Now here's the one that's wild. If you ever seen the FBI files about the Philly Wars or whatever, they actually reenact this, where the informant, they actually shoot him in the head and stuff, and he fights and everything like that. That is a true story. And if anybody knows what this guy really looks like, the informant, whatever, I'm just getting from my imagination. When you hear the story, you got to imagine what this guy has to look like. He's got to be bigger guy because Frank was smaller. He's got to be, say, around 6 foot tall, maybe a little bit taller, but really fat, and probably that hard fat because they hit him in the back of his head 3 times and it did not unalive him. Let's get into that. Mr. Martinez attempts to unalive an Enterprise associate cooperating with law enforcement. Now, this guy was wired up and working with the feds for a while. An Enterprise associate began cooperating with the FBI during the Enterprise's war with the rival gang. So this is all during the war. Mr. Martinez and an Enterprise associate took the cooperating witness to a bar. Mr. Martinez and the associate took the cooperating witness to an apartment after leaving the bar. This is where it happens at. Mr. Martinez excused himself to the bathroom while in the apartment. The Enterprise associate had the cooperating witness sit with his back to the bathroom while instructing the cooperating witness on taking book. So basically they were doing something with some gambling stuff, going over some gambling slips. Mr. Martinez exited the bathroom armed with a firearm and began shooting at the cooperating witness. Mr. Martinez shot the cooperating witness 3 times in the head. 1 bullet grazed the cooperating witness's head. The second struck the cooperating witness's head and exited the back of the cooperating witness's head. And the 3rd bullet struck the cooperating witness's head but did not penetrate his skull. I think he might have the thick fat that slowed it down or something. And it was probably a small caliber 22 Saturday Night Special type deal probably. But still. The cooperating witness survived the 3 bullets to the head and turned to face Mr. Martinez. Mr. Martinez shot the cooperating witness in the chest. The undaunted cooperating witness grabbed Mr. Martinez's firearm and emptied its magazine. Now imagine this. You just shot this guy 3 times in the head and once in the chest, and now he just took your gun from you and emptied the magazine. Gets better. Mr. Martinez and the Enterprise associate grabbed the cooperating witness and beat the cooperating witness's head with the firearms. So they're pistol whipping him. Mr. Martinez pulled out a knife and instructed the Enterprise associate to hold the cooperating witness's head back so Mr. Martinez could slash his throat. The cooperating witness disarmed Mr. Martinez. So now he's been shot in the head and in the chest, 3 times in the head, once in the chest, and you stabbed him. And he's taking your gun and your knife. This guy's adrenaline must have been on 10 million, you know. The cooperating witness disarmed Mr. Martinez. Mr. Martinez explained to the cooperating witness he did not mean to hurt the cooperating witness. Like, come on, dude. You just shot this guy 3 times in the head, once in the chest, and stabbed him. And now you turn around and tell him, look, man, I wasn't trying to hurt you. All right. I don't mean to laugh, but it's just a... Come on. Mr. Martinez, okay, the cooperating witness fled the apartment after Frank had said to him he didn't mean to hurt him. Okay, so anyway, so they go to trial on the RICO. Now, I do know this because I read into this, and this is, but I knew about this back while we were locked up. When Frank was locked up with me, that on the day of their trial, you know, whatever, the Stanford side, I guess some of them were going to trial or whatever, one of the informants or whatever got unalived on that same day of trial. So they had to delay it and stuff like that. So there was things like that going on. Now, let me talk a little bit about Frank. Now, okay, he's an older guy. Say he was like 70 years old when I was there. You know, he worked out and stuff like that. So, but he does got degenerative disease and stuff like that. Now, he is getting older. Pretty much was standoffish. He's not my cup of tea of type guy. You know what I mean? Doesn't mean that I got a personal problem with him or whatever. But he, like I said, he's standoffish, kind of like a miserable type of guy. But still have to respect the guy as a stand-up guy. Like I said, I'm biased on this. I hope he does get released, you know, because I hope everybody does, except for like child predators and, you know, predators of women and stuff, except for that. But like, you know, so I would want Frank to get released. But from what I'm seeing here and from Frank's attitude too, I see that whereas though I don't want to say the no remorse thing, but I just want to say the not taking responsibility thing. And with these appeals and anything like that you're doing, you have to show some type of remorse. You have to accept responsibility. But anyway, so we would be in there. He would gamble a little bit. He'd come play Vinny's ticket. And, you know, he was a respectful guy, stuff like that. We all watched the same TV. Like, we had the TV. It was actually in front of Vinny's cell. It was already there when I got there. So that was like the TV that I would turn and they would turn, and we would watch our shows on that TV. Plus there was like a neutral TV or whatever. So we had our own TV. So Frank would actually watch CNN and stuff like that. He was actually kind of a liberal because that's when the whole Joe Biden, Donald Trump thing was going on in 2020. And he was believing that if Joe Biden got into office, he was going to let him out and all this stuff. I mean, look, and I don't want to put him down for that because you got to understand, man, this stuff is traumatizing. The guy has, I think, you know, a few life sentences. He's never getting out, it don't look like. And, you know, sometimes you lose your mind, okay? So, like I said, he just worked on the compound. Now, he did have a few, like, dust-ups while he was in prison. He got into a fight once. I don't know if they talk about that. I do know he had a shot for getting into a fight. And something like back in the day. But for the most part, he was a model inmate. Now, let me get down to this. Okay, here's a problem. Here's where they get into his little bit of remorse. Mr. Martinez also demonstrated little remorse. He argued that we, and we means the government, exaggerated his crimes in our February 8th, 2021 memorandum opinion. Okay, that was one of his original compassionate releases got shot down. This was his third one. This was his most recent. That's why I picked this one. Mr. Martinez denied serving as the Enterprise's underboss and denied being an inducted member in the Enterprise. Mr. Martinez argued the evidence implicated Mr. Martinez as the Enterprise underboss came from the cooperating witness he tried to unalive, who gave false testimony against Mr. Martinez in revenge for what he believed was Martinez's involvement in the cooperating witness's brother's unaliving. So Frank is sitting here making an argument saying, no, basically that guy's saying that I'm the underboss because he thinks that I unalived his brother. So you kind of making yourself look, that's another unaliving that they probably weren't even talking about, maybe? I don't know. He continued to argue the evidence without showing the remorse we would expect during rehabilitation. We cannot and will not go back to evaluate witness credibility. So in other words, that all got decided by the jury, so, and he's just, he's I guess showing no remorse. They denied his second and compassionate release motion without prejudice. Okay, they consider his medical records, blah, blah, blah. Hang on. We found Mr. Martinez remained a danger to the community. We commend Mr. Martinez for saving a prison guard's life, but denied altering his sentence because other inmates failed to save the prison guard's life. Well, let's get into this. Hang on. Let me see if I can find that. That's 3553A. I didn't know about this. What happened with a prison guard? Hang on. Okay. Oh, okay. Okay. Excuse me. I'm sorry about that, guys. He didn't save a prison guard's life. That was an example they were making. They were saying, oh, they can't just say because Frank saved the prison guard's life, he should go home and all the other inmates just stay locked up or whatever. Okay, guys. Okay, I'm sorry about that. Well, anyway, the deal with Frank here now is, and these denials, is because of what they're saying. They look at that as no remorse. Now, maybe the guy is lying, but that's still, you're already convicted. That's in the jury already did that. So you can't, when you're doing these things, say, hey, they're a liar or whatever. It's the same thing with the Vinny Bassiano thing, as they're trying to get his his sentence actually commuted, like they did my co-defendant's sentence. We were successful in that. Now, when I seen these people put out Vinny's thing, it was like the same stuff like they're talking about with Frank. It's never going to work. So I actually put it out there, and I'm putting it out there again. And I already talked to my co-defendant, and we can get all the paperwork together and all, and we can show you how we did it if you guys want to do the petition the right way for Vinny or for anybody, because it worked. Obama granted my co-defendant clemency, commuted his sentence. Now, okay. They credited Mr. Martinez's educational program completion and character references, but we found Mr. Martinez's involvement in 2 unalivings, 7 attempted unalivings, and conspiracy to unalive 2 Enterprise associates constituted serious offense, preventing us from granting his compassionate release. We reminded Mr. Martinez he took advantage of the opportunity to challenge the evidence against him on direct appeal. That's what we were talking about earlier. That was his direct appeal that got shot down. And he may not have challenged that guy's testimony. Okay. Third time. Physical condition. So he's got all kind of doctors and all talking about his deteriorating condition. His is all like herniated discs and stuff like that. I do remember he was having issues with that sciatic nerve damage. A lot of people get that. And here's the thing all the way down. The problem here is this. The no remorse, and this, they're saying he would be a danger to the community and his living situation. Let's get into that. Mr. Martinez tells us we release him, he would live with his son in Philadelphia. Mr. Martinez explains his son can help Mr. Martinez perform activities of daily living and could drive him to doctor's appointments. He did not tell the whole story. His son pleaded guilty to 3 counts of simple assault, 1 count of recklessly endangering another person, 3 counts of disorderly conduct, and 1 count of criminal mischief on January 23rd, 1996. Just like I said, some petty stuff. You know what I mean? That's probably, and when they're saying that, that's probably a bunch of counts. They were all consolidated into one. He probably got who knows. But he's still a convicted felon from that. His son pleaded guilty to 1 count of receiving stolen property, 1 count of possession of marijuana, and 1 count of carrying a firearm without a license on April 2nd, 1998. The federal documents report that his son, I don't want to say his name, pleaded guilty to 1 count of engaging in business of dealing firearms without a license on June 7th, 1999. They sentenced him to 17 months and 3 years supervised release. So he caught a federal sentence for a 922A1A. So a 922, like you've heard 922G, that would be felon in possession. 922A, I just think is illegal possession, but it's a gun charge, 922. His son, pleaded guilty to 1 count of possessing a small amount of marijuana for personal use in 1999. Pleaded guilty to count of aggravated assault in 2010. And he got 9 to 23 months. And he was paroled to a substance abuse treatment facility. Sounds like the kid might have had a little bit of a drug problem or something like that. It's not a dangerous guy, it don't sound like. But when you're going home, you have to have a good home plan. You know what I mean? It's tough, trust me. The son's conduct raises more immediate concerns. Philadelphia police officer Jackson arrested the son on March 20th, 2024. The Commonwealth charged his son with 1 count of criminal mischief, 1 count of making terroristic threats with intent to terrorize another, 1 count of simple assault, and 1 count of recklessly endangering another person. They're set for trial in April 23rd, 2024. So that's passed. Now look, them charges sound horrible and stuff like that, but I've had telephone issues and threats like that. I got to a bar fight, got to a party afterwards, called the bar. I'm gonna do whatever to y'all, blah, blah, same type of charges. Case was nothing. So, but when you're going back out into the community, you got to have a better home plan than that, and you also got to show some remorse. I hope Frank gets it together and gets it in some other way and will wind up getting out eventually, because like I said, I want them all to get out. But a little story about them. So look, it's me, Frank, and Vinny Giattino, who is Tommy Karate's co-defendant, Kojak. We're all in the same tier. So now look, everybody gets along and stuff, but we would all hang out with Kojak. So Kojak would always kind of make fun of Frank. He'd be like, oh, look, there goes the boss. The boss. Look at he's walking around, the boss. You know? And, just laugh and stuff like that. We'd all laugh. Because that's how a lot of the mob guys and stuff do. But they all got along. You know what I mean? And stuff like that. But, they were just different. He was a little bit different. But, and I could tell, the way he carried himself and all. He was old school guy. And the thing was, when I really look into this, I see how hard they were going down there in Philly at that time. That was a serious thing, guys. That was a serious thing. So basically what it looks like to me logically, let's get off the organized crime stuff and all. It just looks to me like you had some sandbox brothers. You got kids from the neighborhood. I say kids, of course they were adults at the time, but younger men from the neighborhood coming up. That some outsiders from the neighborhood came in and were looking to take over. They tried on live then, they tried on, it goes back and forth, things like that. Like I said, this is serious. This was a serious thing. And at the end of the day, there was so many unalivings in this. Just on this, look at how many attempts. And then you have that rat who was wearing the wire. I mean, what was he, Superman or something? I mean, they shot the guy 3 times in his head, stabbed him, and shot him in the chest, and he took the gun and the knife. And then Frank looked at him and said, hey, man, I wasn't trying to hurt you. This is just crazy, man. This is just crazy. But, good luck to him on his future endeavors of getting out. But from this point, it doesn't look like it's going to happen, So, all right, guys, that's what I'm going to talk about tonight. But anyway, for you guys from Philly that know any details of this stuff, like from the streets and stuff, what I want to know from you, if any of you know, because I seen the reenactment, I want to know if I'm right. What did this guy look like? Was he like one of the big fat guys? Because we had this guy, Big Larry or Fat Larry, back in the day. I remember he got shot by a 357 like 6 times, 4 times, 6 times, something like that. But a big 357, big hog. And it didn't do nothing to him. His fat saved him, the doctor said. So that looks like this is this type of situation. So if my description of him is right, the hard fat head and stuff like that, just let me know. If I'm wrong, hey, just let me know. All right, guys, but that's what that is. Till next time, just remember, always stand on business.